Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Amanda.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Kathleen.
And this is the federal election edition of Beyond a Ballot, powered by DoorDash.
Hello, I'm Hannah Thibodeau. It is Wednesday, April 9th, and wow, what another crazy day. Late this afternoon, President Donald Trump, announced a pause on global tariffs. The stock markets, they're swinging. The campaign trail still rolling. So let's start with Rachel Siegel. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was in Sault Ste. Marie today, trying hard to steer voters towards a different non-Trump issue. Anything to stay away from the Trump talk. Today, he announced what he's calling a 3 strikes, you're out law. Dig into that for us, Rachel.
Well, as a former staffer to the Minister of Public Safety, this one is one that I had specific interest in because Pierre is talking about, like you said, the 3 strikes, you're out law. And he noted that over the last 10 years, we've seen a rise of 50% in violent crimes, 116% in up gun violence, and gang homicides are up 78%. So some pretty startling facts when it comes to the rise of violence across the country, specifically in Vancouver, where I am. 40 offenders, he said, have been arrested 6,000 times. And so one of the problems that we've seen come up over the last few months through multiple campaigns, including the campaign here in British Columbia, was just the number of offenders that are reoffending while either out on parole or bail. And that's what Pierre was talking about today, saying that if you have committed serious crimes previously, your third time, you're out. There's a minimum sentence going to be imposed of a minimum of 10 years. And that's going to try and deter some of those violent and serious offenses from happening of people that are just doing it all the time.
Want to go on to now Liberal leader Mark Carney. He was in Calgary and announced that he wants to make Canada an energy superpower. I bet you everybody in Calgary was listening to that. How exactly will that happen, Amanda Alvaro?
Okay, so he talked about a few things today. He talked about kickstarting the clean energy supply chain, investing in critical minerals. He talked about a development office, the idea of really cutting those approval times for projects. That sounds reminiscent of something that the Conservatives promised, and that's going to be a very popular promise right now. And he talked about the infrastructure necessary to move and connect energy projects. Sounds a lot like pipelines to me. Why do I think that this announcement is so interesting at this time? It also comes on a day that Abacus came out with their data. They were kind of lagging in the numbers. So they have the Conservatives and the Liberals sort of in a dead heat. They've now moved the Liberals ahead. But one of the interesting data points that they uncovered was that 55% of Canadians were giving not Poilievre the credit for ending the carbon tax, but they were giving that credit to Carney. So if Trudeau had come out and made that announcement today, I don't think that people would have bought it. But the fact that Carney can make an energy superpower announcement, the fact that he can be credited with ending the carbon tax speaks to the climate, the temperature we're in. He is capitalizing on it. He is exploiting it. He is using the trade war as an opportunity to talk about getting our resources to other markets, to diversifying those markets. This is a popular message, and I think it's really going to work for him.
Rachel's just covering her mouth when you're talking there.
I'm trying not to deep dive into a response here.
Oh, we love the deep dives. But first, let's go to Kathleen Monk. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says the NDP will fight for expanded pharmacare.
Yeah, so I think in terms of which leader was talking about the policy that's closest to people's hearts and into their lives and their wallet books, I think Jagmeet Singh kind of takes the award for that today. He promised that he would expand pharmacare to the 100 top most prescribed drugs in Canada in the next 4 years. So we're talking things like inhalers for kids, beta blockers, high blood pressure medicine, things that are super common. We're already, pharmacare already is supposed to cover diabetes medication and devices and also birth control. But this would expand into those other drugs like antibiotics or high level painkillers that some people need. So that means in 4 years, those top drugs would be covered. I think it was costed out at $3.5 billion. But why I think it's important, Hannah, on a day like today, when Trump has announced that he is now also going to tariff prescription drugs. So he's getting into the prescription drug game. It's not just, cars and aluminum and steel and wood. Now it's actually things like Canadians will feel the prices of drugs they need to live be spiked, be hiked by these tariffs. And I think actually it's a policy that Canadians generally associate with New Democrats. Actually, it's really fun just to build off that last point that Amanda made. It's amazing to me that the polling saying that Canadians are associating Carney with removing the carbon tax. I mean, that must make Rachel die a little bit or puke in her mouth a little bit.
I think that's what she was doing.
Exactly. All the work the Conservatives have done to kind of sully the carbon tax to begin with. And in the end, Carney goes away with the cake, right? Like he gets all of the kudos. Anyhow, so I do think that being, back to the Democrats, I do think, pharmacare, important expansion, drugs people need, yay, affordability, yay, New Democrats. Team Orange.
I'm going to campaign call out now, and I'm going to have to start with Rachel.
Oh,
you're first.
Okay, fine. I'll go first, but I'm going to warn our audience that this is a bit of a sounder shout out today but I think it's an important one. Some of you may have seen that a video was released today. Pierre Poilievre was in Sault Ste. Marie, and when he walked outside of his rally, there was a woman there and she was holding up a picture. And she said, "This is a picture of you with my friend. My friend was a victim of intimate partner violence. And last week, you announced a policy on intimate partner violence, and we just want to thank you." And I watched that video and I thought, we talk about different policies every single day, but to really truly feel the impact that those policies have on local communities, on families across the country, and we can sit here and disagree about policies and break them down. But at the end of the day, regardless of what the policy is, it does make a difference in people's lives. And so I really felt it was important to share that today.
Good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Amanda, you go next. I'm still caught up in what Rachel was saying.
I know, me too. My campaign call out is going to be to Trump, who is really, the third major candidate in this campaign, it feels like, because of how often he is hijacking our news. So, of course, another crazy, chaotic day. But I thought what was interesting was when you think about for 75 years, since 1950, since post World War II boom, the US has really steadily built trust in their economy, in growth, in their currency, and all of that was driven by stability. And in 60 days, just 60 days, he has eradicated the trust and the stability that his partners, that his allies had. So they've gone from being a reliable and trustworthy partner to an unreliable and erratic partner. And what do the global markets need? They need stability. So what we're seeing in real time is this change in world order, this change in global behavior. And we're watching it every day on our campaign trails, right? So as these campaigns are looking to the next really important announcements, we just talked about three: energy and crime, and the NDP talking about pharmacare. All three of those are important, but they get hijacked, they get torpedoed by the global chaos that this man is continuing to bomb us with. So that's my call out. It's a Trump call. It's
Can I
not a
tag
nice
on to
one.
that? Just because
Yes.
I'm in Iqaluit as well at the Nunavut Mining Symposium, and they were watching it here too.
Yeah.
And their take on
Of
this
course.
is the fact that this volatile US president has said he wants to expand American influence in the Arctic. And they say the people here know the value of the critical minerals. They know the value of sovereignty. And they're all talking about how it is important, and the next prime minister needs to know this moment and make sure that it's paid attention to in the next government. And
Yeah.
all of the leaders have been here in the past 36 days. So hopefully they continue to see the value and the importance in the Arctic here. Sorry to jump in there, but it was just, this is what they were talking about too. And when I'm up here in the north, I have to mention that. Kathleen,
Absolutely.
campaign call out for you.
Okay, I'm going to try to do a pretty neutral one. I want to do a campaign
Ooh.
call out to all the. I'm going to try to be neutral. Remember, I am a partisan.
Whoa, when did this happen, Kath?
I'm going to do a campaign call out to all the journalists who are traveling with the party leaders in the campaigns. They are working really hard, and this campaign is a little bit more challenging in some cases because not all the campaigns are doing media buses. So it's a lot of running around. We've got a very big country. They've got to follow him, planes, trains, and automobiles, that kind of stuff. But I do want to highlight some research because there has been some challenges. I cited one challenge yesterday, kind of between journalists and leaders and what was happening on the campaign trail. It happened again today where a journalist was a practicing journalist from a well-known media institution was asking a question to a leader and was referred to as a protester, despite the fact that she was just asking a question. So they have a hard enough job. It was Judy Trin from CTV News who was called a protester when she was asking the leader the question, as opposed to just being a journalist doing her job. But what I thought was interesting, and this is the point that I want to share with folks, in the first 2 weeks of the campaign, this is research done by the Hill Times. I'm cribbing it. Thanks very much to the Hill Times and their great work. They counted the number of questions that the leaders answered in the first 2 weeks of the campaign. I thought it was really interesting. So the conservative leader took 65 questions in the first 2 weeks of the campaign. The liberal leader took 148.
Wow.
The Bloc leader took 163 questions, and the New Democratic leader, Jagmeet Singh, took 208.
Wow.
There is, and it's interesting when you look at the actually quantitative data on this, and you actually count out the questions, because it's really important to be who's open to be challenged. And I gotta give it to you. I was watching part of Mark Carney's presser today, and he went from soup to nuts. Honestly, it was everything from health rights for trans individuals to pipelines to the charter. It was the whole. It's really tough to take those questions, but I do think that transparency on the ground by all the leaders is really important. So that's my call out to those journalists who are doing that tough job.
Love that call out.
Yeah, I love that call out, and I may be a bit biased because I am a former journalist and I know what it's like to be on those campaign trails. It can be fun, but it can be very, very difficult. So good one. I could continue this conversation forever, but we are out of time. Sorry, ladies. That's all for today. Tomorrow, well, who knows what Donald Trump will do next and how it will ripple through the campaign here in Canada. We'll be back to dig into everything. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. New episodes come out daily, and you can find Beyond a Ballot on Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. A huge thank you to our title sponsor, DoorDash, and sponsors Equal Voice, Page, and Canada Powered by Women for making this election special possible. Speak to you tomorrow.